Greetings, worldwide fans of cinema. Jaime En Fuego here, once again covering the hottest entertainment with an edge on Enfuegotainment. And this is one of those evenings where you're like, yeah, I think I've got all my trabajo, my work done for the evening, and I can just crash out, maybe throw in a horror movie, because, you know, I also work for the horror show, and I like to, you know, kind of just relaxitate at the end of all of the festivities of the day. And lo and behold, Marvel Studios decides to drop the first Spider-Man Homecoming trailer. That's right, a little bit of a early Christmas present, I suppose. And yeah, after just getting done watching that horrible Baywatch trailer, hopefully this is going to be something that's significantly better. So I have to say, this is obviously something none of us really ever suspected was going to be transpiring, especially after The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is about to come out. So let's all just jump back to that a few years ago, where the first Amazing Spider-Man film that Mark Webb did was pretty badass. I loved that movie. I hated Spider-Man 3, and yet I still contend that Spider-Man 2 is one of the best films from the superhero genre, at least, ever made. I adored that film. The first one, you know, Raimi's initial work, there was good stuff, but I could not get past the cheesy nature of the Green Goblin and the way that they handled that, as much as I adore Willem Dafoe, and didn't even think Franco did that terrible of a job. I mean, you know, it was a flawed series, and it showed those cracks in the foundation, especially at the end, and I have no idea why Tobey Maguire felt the need to dance around. That is just poor direction from Sam Raimi, who, whether he's doing Evil Dead, Army of Darkness, whatever, or even something like A Simple Plan or The Gift, he's an amazing director. So what happened with that? I don't know, but as Amazing 2 was about to come out, we all thought, we were like, man, they're going to do 3, 4, they had a Venom spinoff. I think it was actually technically supposed to be a Sinister 6 spinoff that was in the framework, and they allege it's still in the workings. Who the hell knows? But Amazing made a ton of money. We're talking dump trucks of money internationally, but the whole adage about overstuffing the turkey. Remember Batman and Robin, for instance? Yeah, that's what happened in this movie. There were too many villains, especially of the underdeveloped variety, and even the ones that were like the focal point, like Jamie Foxx's Electro. I love him as an actor. I just felt like it was slight miscasting, and it wasn't even him, it was the way they portrayed him as being bumbling and all this other stuff. And don't even get me started on the ridiculous, you know, stereotype that was Giamatti as well as Rhino. So yeah, that film, after loving Amazing 1 so much and then going into 2, and I still remember walking out of that theater and saying, this wasn't that bad. This wasn't that bad, and yet the more I thought about it, the more I just turned it over in my head. I was just happy because of the fact that Garfield and Stone were both back, and dare I say, in some ways, a better match than, you know, Kirsten Dunst and Tobey Maguire. But in any event, nobody for their lives thought that Sony, you know, possessing the rights to Spider-Man and all of his collective characters, it's so horrible the way, you know, just the dissection of the film rights, at least for all of these iconic Marvel characters, goes from Fox attaining all the X-Men characters to, you know, Sony having, you know, all the Spider-Man stuff, and then Marvel Studios has slowly amassed more and more and more. There's characters that reverted even this year, you know, like Ghost Rider, and they immediately threw him on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and so, you know, it's a weird dynamic, it's an unfortunate one, and so when Sony was less than satisfied with a film that they thought was going to crush, which was Amazing 2, it's really amusing how they go bark up Marvel's pole. Well, we don't really know. There's been emails that leaked that were circulating, and we don't know the exact extent of it, how long the discussion had been going, but lo and behold, we saw Spider-Man from the Sony universe in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, albeit recast and with a young, interesting man that unfortunately shares a name with one of my favorite horror directors of all time, Tom Holland, but that is to take nothing away from the kid. That's Twitter handle is Tom Holland 1996. He is so talented, and for my money, I didn't love Civil War, but I loved Spider-Man. Ant-Man and Spider-Man, those are my two absolute favorite things, and I loved the way Civil War really introduced him. I liked the, you know, kind of, you know, big brother, almost like father-like dynamic that he had going on with Tony Stark. That was pretty rad. I am so excited that for this first Marvel Studios Spider-Man film ever that just drops this trailer late at night, or at least here for, you know, myself in the Phoenix of the Arizona in America, that we are going to have Robert Downey Jr. along with Tom Holland. Their chemistry was just impeccable. It made me laugh. I loved the hot, Aunt May aspect with Marissa Tomei. Oh my goodness, it was so good. So how about I stop babbling and we get right to this trailer, and then I'll give you some bueno, malo, and feo, good, bad, and ugly like I always do, and then I can get some sleep and we can all sleep and dream about how amazing this film is hopefully going to be. Am I right? Let's get it rocking, peeps.
Wait a minute. You guys aren't the real Avengers. I can tell Hulk gives it away. Is Leslie Lou top?
No, you've seen that before. No, that's skirt.
Should probably stop staring before it gets creepy though.
Too late. You guys are losers.
So, to become an Avenger, are there like trials or an interview?
Just don't do anything I would do. And definitely don't do anything I wouldn't do. There's a little gray area in there, and that's where you operate.
Oh.
That's not 100. I'm just grabbing the top for you.
Let's see. Oh, that's good.
Listen, I know school sucks.
Yeah. You still with us? Yeah.
I know you want to save the world. But you're not
Get some models for wives.
You're the Spider-Man.
No, I'm not. This is just a costume. This is from the ceiling.
stay close to the ground. And stay out of trouble. Forget the flying monster guy. There are people who handle this sort of thing.
Oh, you've been treating me like a kid all the time.
But you are a kid.
This is my chance to prove myself. What is going on with you? I'm sorry. I'm so busy. I'm sorry.
Don't mess with me.
Ah.
And everybody you love.
Well then, amigos, I must say, we saw those wings that everybody was having such this big controversial fit about and whining and crying and so on and so forth. I thought it looked good, at least in the one little shot that we saw of it. MGMT is definitely going to be making some mad money, and their music use almost makes sense in the trailer because of the fact that, you know, they're from New York, and I know this is terrible not to recall right offhand, but he's in Queens, right? And he's not in, like one of the other boroughs or whatever. But I wish I knew, like, on point. I'm just, it's kind of lapsed in my mind at this particular time in the evening. But, very good, very fun. But I can't say it was the bee's knees for me. I can't say that it induced within me just the excitement that seeing Dr. Octopus in Spidey 2 did, where I was like, wow, this series is really cranking it to the next level and showing a legitimate villain. I love Michael Keaton so flippin' much. He is comedic, whether it's Multiplicity or Beetlejuice or, I mean, he can even do intense dramatic work like Desperate Measures and Clean and Sober. He is probably one of my favorite actors ever, like ever. And so his resurgence with Birdman, and he's about to do this film that the title is, it's eluding me, where he's going to be playing the McDonald's founder, but I cannot wait for that. It was moved up because it's considered Oscar bait, but I don't like the costume of the Vulture that we just saw in this trailer. I must admit, I'm worried it's going to be like the first Spider-Man that Raimi did, where, the costume the Green Goblin didn't sell it. Dafoe's look didn't do it. And you were like, the menace, it was all there when he was just a person. And we saw that in the brief glimpse of Keaton. That was great. But for me, I don't know. It just... perhaps with, better looks, and the fact that they were describing it as being legitimately scary in some of the news stories I was reading on Twitter, that's kind of disconcerting. So hopefully they are still, fine-tuning the CGI, or, I don't know. I just didn't see something that had proper, prominent menace and, contextually and, just fitting into the scene and whatnot. So this was good, but boy, I'm kind of a little underwhelmed, I must admit. So I'm stoked as hell to see more of Tony, and I'm extremely excited to see more of Tom Holland as Spider-Man, because for me, there were 3 cartoons in the 90s that, for this older guy, really just epitomized the superhero resurgence that was transpiring at the time. And that was Spider-Man, and the whole Maximum Clonage stuff was going down. I think they just got past Maximum Carnage and the initial Clone Saga, so that was amazing. Death of Kane, so good. And then the X-Men cartoon series, and obviously the Batman series. So Batman, X-Men, and Spider-Man were my 3 absolute favorites. I watched those cartoons like crazy. I have faith in this movie, I have faith in, I'm not going to go as far as like Robert Meyer Burnett and say, our Lord and Savior Kevin Feige, as he does on Collider Heroes. Shout out to those guys. Got to interview John Schnepp just this past year. One of my favorite dudes within the industry. He is badass, but seriously, I'm not as hopeful about this as I approached it, but that doesn't mean it's going to suck. I'm actually thinking it's going to be pretty rad, but this was kind of underwhelming for me. So, in any event, guys, I've been Jaime En Fuego. I extend a grande gracias to all of you who are tuning into this, at least late when I'm filming it, because of the fact that this was a little sneaker. It was one of those little, almost like a Secret Santa type things that Marvel Studios decided to give us here in December. So, yes, relish it, enjoy it. I'm going to watch it a few times, and perhaps I will find more merit within all of its awesomeness. But I've been Jaime En Fuego. You can catch me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Porfa y gracias, like, share, and subscribe. I extend a very wholehearted Feliz Navidad to all of you peeps, and yeah, until next time, Cinemigos, hasta luego, but let's make it sooner rather than later. I look forward to it, and I will see you then. Adios.